So I was on Twitter, or I guess it's called X now, and I came across this tweet from Representative Eric Swalwell, and he's back at it again. And this is what he tweeted. Ban assault weapons, ban them all, or buy them all back, choose our kids over their killers. There's a lot going on with this tweet, even though it's relatively short. But one thing you have to understand about Eric Swalwell is that he has a tendency to say the loud parts out loud when they really want him to shut the hell up, because they try to do things quietly and insidiously. Eric Swalwell doesn't have that level of sophistication when it comes to communication. So therefore, he just blurts things out really loudly. And then the people in his party are looking at him like, dude, stop saying that. He's kind of like a Beto in that regard, but just a little bit more goofy. Now, let's talk about the first part of this, banning assault weapons. First of all, when they say assault weapons, what they're talking about is the AR-15. And they're talking about any other semi-automatic rifle, not just the AR-15. Any semi-automatic rifle. That is what they're talking about when they say ban assault weapons. Now, I could do a deep sea dive into what an assault weapon is and what it isn't, but an assault weapon is a made up term. It's made up. It's a politically made up term by the anti-gun politicians in order to scare people into thinking that AR-15, the AR in the AR-15 stands for assault rifle. Why are we talking about banning AR-15s? One, they're the most popular rifle in this country, but considering they're the most popular rifle in this country, they're not responsible for the most deaths. They're not even not even close. This handgun, 2011. It has 20 rounds in this gun. This is responsible for way more deaths than an AR-15. You see this knife? This knife is responsible for double the amount of people killed with AR-15s. You see this fist? Fists, hands and feet were responsible for killing more people than an AR-15. So why are we talking about AR-15s? Well, if we're going to be honest, the reason we're talking about AR-15s, or the reason why they keep talking about AR-15s, is because AR-15s in the hands of the American people is the greatest threat to tyranny in this country. And they know that. And in order to enact tyranny, you have to get the weapon that gives the people in the country the most capability to fight back out of their hands. And because this is about control and not actually saving lives, because like I just pointed out, if it was about saving lives, they'd be focusing on knives. They'd be focusing on handguns. They wouldn't be focusing on this. But the reason they focus on this is because they understand that what this represents is the ability for the American people to check their government. So that's why they go so hard on the AR-15s. Because think about it. If they're not responsible for the vast majority of the deaths, they would be focused on the things that are, but they aren't. Now, let's go to the second part of that, the buy them all back. Understand, when you hear politicians say buyback, that buyback is not voluntary. It's going to be mandatory. You don't get a choice. So on top of that, not only are they not giving you a choice, but they're using your money to pay you to give your gun back to them, and then they'll just tax you on that money again, and now you don't have it. Where do you think they're going to get the money to buy back the guns? They're going to get it from the tax revenue that you paid into. So you're not even getting the money back. And then the money you do get back, it's a fraction of what you paid for. Now, the only reason they're giving you the money is so that they can give you the illusion that you're getting something back for your gun. Because otherwise, they would just be taking something away from you that you spent thousands of dollars on, and they know you wouldn't stand for that. But if they can pacify you just a little bit by giving you a couple of dollars here and there, then they'll do that. It's coming right back to them anyway, because they're going to tax you to whole hell anyway. Now let's talk about the last part of that tweet, the whole choosing their kids over the killer. That's an intellectual sleight of hand if you pay attention. So what they want to do is they want to take this, right? When you see this, they want you to see the killer. So it removes all responsibility and accountability for what the killer actually did. And they only want you to see this when it involves a murderer. You see, police officers use AR-15s. Secret Service, they have full-blown assault rifles. And then you have other government officials who utilize the same type of platforms that they're trying to ban us from owning, while at the same time telling us that if we choose to own those things, we're choosing the killers over the kids. But why doesn't that same logic apply to the government agents the same way it applies to us? You want to explain that to me? Because again, it is about control. They're not worried about having AR-15s in the hands of the people who are enacting the control measures. They have a problem with it when it's in the hands of people who are free. They can't control people who are free and are armed adequately. The operative word being adequately. That's why the Second Amendment said arms. That's why I didn't specify a type of particular firearm in the Second Amendment, because they understood there would be evolution in the capabilities of firearms, and they wanted to make sure that the people had access to the same type of weapons that the government would possibly have if they decided to be tyrannical against the people. It would make no sense otherwise. But that is why they do that. But the one thing that continuously pisses me off is they're using kids as a human shield against any critique against a particular gun control law. It is insane and it's disgusting, if I'm going to be honest. Every single time they try to pass a law, they surround the entire law with the idea of saving children's lives, or if you don't agree with this law, you want kids to die. That is the most intellectually dishonest way of having a conversation I have ever seen. But yet they continuously do that because they want to keep you in your irrational mind. That is what they want. They want you to think irrationally. Do anything and everything without, even if it doesn't make any sense. Do anything when it comes to protecting kids. And I'm all for that idea to a point, because I still want the kids to be protected. And when you're talking about a firearm that is used less than hands and feet to kill people, when you're talking about a firearm that is used less than people using knives to kill people, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yet they cloak these arguments and these conversations around that idea every single time so that we cannot have an honest conversation about it, because we're stuck in our rational mindset of, if you don't agree with this, that means you want to kill kids. So instead of talking about actual functional ways to save kids' lives, we're constantly forced to defend ourselves in terms of not being considered or being seen as chill people who want kids to die. That is a tactic that they use to make sure that the conversation is actually not had. And it's disgusting and it's gross and it's disingenuous as hell. But that is the way that they function. That's why they don't want certain people coming on their platforms talking about the Second Amendment. They won't have, the mainstream media won't have me come on there and talk about the Second Amendment, because they know they'll be forced to have that conversation in real life. That's why David Hogg doesn't want to have a discussion about the Second Amendment with me when he was asked to debate, and he decided not to once he realized it was me, because they don't want an honest conversation. They want an irrational, emotional, nonsensical conversation so that you will do something stupid and give up your rights because of the way they made you feel, whether it be by way of guilt or shame. That is how they function. And that was what this tweet is intended to do. It's cheap, it's ugly, and it's unnecessary, because at the end of the day, everybody involved in this conversation wants the same goal. We want to save lives. We just differ in the way that we choose to do it. Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.